Okay, I'm going to do two more, and hopefully I won't run out of space on my phone. I'm going to do this one first because they're not attached. It throws people off sometime, but the basic idea is we know we have to go this far. So the first thing we're going to do is just measure how long the vector is. So the vector is this long. Okay, so the vector is that long. So I'm just going to transfer all those from D to D prime. It has to be that long. From F to F prime, it has to be that long. And I can make these arcs as big as I want to. I kind of know the general direction I'm going to be in, and from E to E prime is going to be this long. And then I just have to get the direction right because it needs to be parallel. This needs to be parallel to this. So the distance from E to Y is this far. Oops, that wasn't very good. Is this far. You can see it now. Is this far. So I'm going to transfer that measure back here and say, oh, well, that means from this end of this one to here, that is the same distance. We basically have just made a little parallelogram. There is an invisible little parallelogram between these all here. So parallel lines is what I need. Parallel lines is what I need. And then I'm going to repeat that process for F prime and D prime. Or once I've got that point established, I could actually measure these things out. Actually, in fact, I'm going to do it that way. So once again, I could just measure out from F to Y, transfer to Z to the F line, from Y to D, transfer out from Z. But the other thing is, once I've established that point, I can just duplicate the triangle there and say, oh, from E to F, it's this far. So on that distance line that I've already established, I know F prime has to end up down here somewhere. If I figure out where these cross, that should be the right point. So F prime will end up right there. So I'm just duplicating the triangle because I know it has to be this far out, but it needs to be relative to E right there. And now I can do from F to D or from E to D, and I think F to D is easier. So I'm just going to measure that out, probably blocking the screen. Okay. F to D is that far. Okay, so I'm going to come around and say, oh, from F to D is that far. It's right there. And if I really kind of wanted to double check myself, I could measure from E to D, which I think I'm going to do real quick because I'm not completely confident that that worked out right. Okay, so from E to D, it is that far. So I'm just going to double check from E to D. Yep, everything lines up. So there's my D prime. And so when I draw this, hopefully it looks the same. If I didn't do this, it doesn't look good, I should probably go back and remeasure everything. Or remeasure any sides that don't look parallel, or maybe that the angles look too big, and I actually kind of just missed something. I'm going to clean this up. Okay, it didn't quite hit F prime there, right? Okay, so my second line is a little questionable. Okay, I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Okay. And then finally, so that's what it looks like. Finally, the only difference over here is it's attached, which means there's actually one less measurement. I know it's got to be this far, so I can measure those out, and I know B and C prime have to end up out here roughly that same distance. Let me make sure I got that clean. Okay, it's that far. So B has to end up, B prime has to end up here somewhere, C prime has to end up here somewhere, except I slipped. You remeasure, still right. Okay, there we go, a little cleaner. And then I just have to, well, where they end up, and once again, I can measure from A to C. This is basically what we just did before. Well, from A to C, it's this far. Okay, so from A prime to C, it's got to be this far, right there. So there's my C prime. And from A to B, once again, I'm going to go back and measure. So from A to B, it's this far. Oops, I think. Yep, this far. And then so from A back to B prime is this far. So there's your B prime right there. And hopefully when I connect all those, it does in fact look here, which I will do very quickly. You can stop it now if you understand it. Let's just see how I did. Yep, pretty good. All my lines look parallel, looks like roughly the same shape, so that's pretty good.